Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got a good show tonight. We got an awesome special guest. I met this guest at the Warrens Paracon out in Gettysburg. I've been a follower of his on Facebook for several years and finally get to meet him in person at Gettysburg. He's a paranormal investigator, demonologist. He's owner of the Ghost Hunter store. Please welcome my guest at this time, Dave Giuliano. Hey, Dave, welcome
Hey,
to the show.
thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, tell my audience a little bit about yourselves who aren't familiar with your work and what you do. And
Uh, I've been experiencing things since I was 3, so I have more than half a century experience right there. But I started the very first paranormal website on the internet back in 1994. I didn't want anything to do with going out and helping people or doing investigations. I was just looking to connect with people, to share experiences and things like that. And here I am now doing the demonology cases and helping people. And sometimes you don't know how you got from here to there, but slow progression going through. Now I primarily deal with the extreme cases, whether they're demonic or just something that's really really upsetting the family.
oh, awesome. Yeah, you're pretty much like me. I've experienced it when I was a little kid as well. I saw my first ghost at 6.
Yeah, it's gives you a whole different perspective, I think, especially when the cases involve children,
Yep.
because I understand what it was like to be that scared little kid. And even when I was experiencing the demonic stuff, I was still in my early teens. So, and didn't have any kind of support really. My parents didn't believe me for the longest time till I was 17. So from 3 to 17, they thought, overactive imagination, too much sugar, whatever the doctors would say, like, oh, these just got, cut down on the breakfast cereal. It's got too much sugar in it. That'll stop it.
Right.
And, when I, around 17, they finally realized, okay, there's more to this than just that. So, but back then there was nobody to reach out. There was no TV shows, no internet. It was books by the Warrens and Hans Holzer. So
Right.
that was my whole reference point. So I knew there was people out there that helped because of those two, but getting a hold of people like that, it was not in the phone book. There was nothing, no way to look any of that stuff up. So you kind of have to struggle alone. So the
Yep.
people that now are very fortunate that there's lots of people out there helping. They have their choice of people, and now they can look at get references, get backgrounds on the people, so you really can carefully choose who you want to come out, not the only person that's around. You're either that or nothing. So
Right. Yeah, there's quite a few of us out there now. So, but I've noticed a lot of teams are backing away from a lot of residential cases. I mean, we're one of the few besides Raven's Eye Paranormal, who was with me at the Paracon, that do residential cases anymore. A lot of people backed away from them.
well, I think a lot of it has to do with uh, a large chunk of the paranormal community are doing it because they either are making money through monetization of their YouTube or TikTok channels. So
Mhm.
it's a job. And going into private houses isn't as interesting to the people who are watching as a location that they have heard of. a
Yeah.
famous haunting, or just a old creepy building. Um, and a lot of other groups don't want, there's a lot of work involved. I mean, you have to go out there and, talk to the people, learn everything about them, um, figure out what's going on, then come up with a game plan of what you're going to do, and then follow up, whether it's reports or evidence or just following up with counseling, whatever the game plan is to help the people.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of work for a lot of groups. They don't want to get involved. They rather go into some place, get their evidence, review that, be able to post their evidence online, say, hey, this is what we got. It's more of a curiosity and entertainment, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of the people you see out there, they're having fun. And when I first started going out, I remember getting the butterflies in my stomach and enjoying some of the stuff and having a good time. But when I started getting in doing the stuff with the private houses, that all changed. And I think when people expose themselves to what kind of work it is, they'd rather just go back and have enjoyable investigations where there's no pressure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different energies when you deal with a residential case with disabilities, alcohol, drugs, and
And a lot of people don't want any part of that either. They'll walk right away, whether it's mental health or something along those lines, and they don't realize that doesn't mean there's nothing happening. Especially with the bad cases, that might be the reason why it's happening. That may be what drew it in or made them a better target.
mm,
Um, and people don't think of that. They'd rather just not get involved with someone who's having those issues. And, you know, I know around here we're one of the only groups that will take those kind of cases because, without anyone taking these people are, some of them are going to end badly. So
yeah,
they need some kind of support. And to me, that's kind of what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for this going to pick and choose who I think should get help and who shouldn't get help. If we have the time and we're not completely booked up with other cases, we're constantly taking new cases on. So we
yeah,
may have like 8 or more cases going at any given time at different levels. So and a lot of people think that's too much, but that if I didn't, those people would be sitting out there with no group to really take those cases. So
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
difficult choice, but I'd rather be running a little, you know, overburdened than have these people sitting out there and dealing with what they're dealing with.
Yep, that's the same with us too. We try to take every case we can get that needs help, especially with kids. Kids take first priority, and I try to explain that to like other clients too that don't have kids in the home that hey, we've got to go out to this kid's case first because they're easy prey and easy targets to something darker. So, and they don't,
It
they're innocent.
right? They don't. Well, some people understand when the if you explain it to them. But others, to them, whatever they're going through is the most important thing. They don't really care about what other people are going through. But that with children, I prioritize, even if it's not a demonic case. If there's a situation where, say, kid's afraid to sleep in his bedroom at night, that's still something that we're going to prioritize to go out there to see if we can, figure out what it is. And, the goal there is to whatever we need to do to get that child back sleeping in his room and not being afraid. That's the goal.
Yep.
Um, and that still gets prioritized over other cases because having been that 3-year-old and through my whole childhood experiencing that stuff, I, I know exactly what that child is thinking. So I don't want anyone to have to go through that ever.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. We had a question from you from Damien. He said, what's your favorite sites to investigate and does that change with different times of the year?
Hmm. I like any place that's got a history to it. I was a history major in school, and I really enjoy going to places where you kind of get the behind the scenes um, that you wouldn't normally get going to a normal haunting. Let's say normal, quote unquote. For instance, we had the opportunity to do Fort Ticonderoga, which was the first. We were the first team to go out there, and it was a great investigation. I mean, it's like a castle on a cliff, looking over two rivers, and it was very interesting. But towards about 2 a.m., um, a lot of the people had fallen asleep. They just
Mhm.
were groggy. They weren't paying attention anymore. And the director saw that and he saw I'm wide awake. So he said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he took me into the walls of the castle. And inside
Oh,
were the original wooden picket fences that were there, that were hundreds of years old, that predated the current fort there. And he's like, "Touch them." So you don't get that kind of experience. I mean, the normal tour at the fort is not taking you inside the walls to see those fences. Yeah, that was to me that was better than the whole investigation because you get those little things like that, those little nuggets of history that you don't always get to see. So I'm always a fan of that whenever I can get someplace new. Um, I do like doing things when it's colder. Um, I just find over the years that there seems to be a jump in activity when it's colder, and we always attributed to the higher static in the air.
mhm.
Don't know if that's the reason, but definitely in the winter months and late fall, it definitely seems to jump up. So places that have outside properties, we're going out to. We have a public hunt Veterans Day weekend down Gettysburg at the David Stewart
Nice.
Farm, and that's usually one of it's Gettysburg. It's Veterans Day, and it's
Yep.
going to be a lot cooler. You have three things all kind of lined up right there for a lot of activity. So, and you can. I'd rather do the colder than the warmer. You can't if it's too hot. 100 degrees in the house. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's cold, you can keep putting layers on until you're warm. So I'd rather deal with that
Right.
than anything else. So
Yeah, especially like the Midwest out here during the summer, it gets ungodly hot out
yeah,
towards
we've
the
had
Great.
some places we were at this year that upper floors were over 100 degrees, so you couldn't stay up there, more than a few minutes because there was no air movement. It was just all stagnant hot air. So which you're losing a whole floor that you could really investigate on. So
Yeah.
give me the colder weather anytime.
Damien says I put it down to moisture increases activity, more water molecules in the air. That seems easier to conduct energy.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, all the stuff that we do with the paranormal, I mean, most of it is theory. I mean,
Mhm.
we can't prove that it's the moisture. We can't prove that it's the static. It's us just noticing things over the years that seem to point to specific things that may be a cause. But it's all conjecture. Um, I we keep data. We keep the weather data. So now I'm interested to go back and look to see if we can, chart the humidity and
Mhm.
see, if that does correlate with more activity in the different seasons. I know in the summer it limits equipment you can use, like the REM pod, the 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 bubble or circle around it that around the antenna that is the proximity sensor. Higher humidity shrinks that.
Yep.
Less humidity and the drier it is, the larger that gets. So a lot of times we're worried about that, not really looking to see if there's an increase in activity, though. That's something that I need to go back and look at. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, like October, they say the veil's thinning because of all the full moons and everything like that. So activity tends to pick up in October. I've noticed quite a bit. Like we've got the old Hans Mill Massacre site out here in Missouri. You go out there on the anniversary of the massacre, which is the night before Halloween, and the place is just active. It's like they surround you out there.
Yeah, I mean that theory or that feeling of the veil being the thinnest goes back, probably over 1,000 years easily. So I mean, it's something that many people in that for that long believe that. Then you got to kind of give a little credence to that. Maybe the case, and
Mhm.
I try not to do any regular investigations around the week leading up to Halloween and maybe the week after, simply because of a precaution. Just in
Yep.
case the veil is that thinnest, then we may be dealing with something that, is not pleasant. I don't want to be even closer to that than I normally would be, or have more energy than it normally would have. So, I exercise some caution there, just going with that theory that, hey, there may be something to that veil being closer, and why poke the bear and take that chance?
But even for us, like, residential cases usually slow down around, like, October, November, but this year it's been different. We've been getting calls like crazy for residential cases.
It seems like things are changing. The more, I mean, there's always a balance going back and forth, but the crazier the world gets and the more negativity there is out there, the scale, tilts towards the negative. So there can be a lot of, you know, cases coming in where people, upset and scared, and that's how you can tell something's going on. Now, when you're already aware something's going on in the world, you kind of hold your breath and, hope that it doesn't manifest in cases. But yeah, it definitely is. We've seen a spike up too with cases, and um, a lot of the cases over the past, let's say, 2 years have been much more darker than usual.
Mhm.
Um, a lot more of the assaults, physical assault, sexual assaultings, things like that, that normally aren't as common, have been very common, which is,
Yeah.
a disturbing trend. But I chalk it up to all the negativity out there that has to feed on.
Yep. We run into that also as well. We ran into quite a bit of that lately
And
this
that's a
year.
tough thing to deal with. I think that scares away a lot of teams too, because that's not something that, when you got into the field, that's not something that you signed up to,
No.
to deal with. And I train my people so they understand that you don't have the option of making a mistake. You can't guess. You have to really watch each word you say and how you phrase things, because
Mhm.
you're dealing with people that, even if they don't have any kind of history of any mental illness or anything, they're still in that situation. They're depressed, they're anxious, you know, and it doesn't take a lot just to press a button and push them over. And if it's something, demonic, they'll jump on that. So you
Oh,
can
yeah.
really, really make it worse for the people. So you have to keep that in mind. Their lives literally are in your hands.
Julie said there's more chaos and division in the world right now, attracting more negativity.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's just, I mean, you just turn on the TV for 5 minutes and you can see how bad it is. And it's building and building and building. So I imagine that the caseloads are going to still go up, because
Mhm.
that, the dark side has some additional energy to pull from,
Yep.
and they're not going to sit on that and not use it. They're going to take advantage of it.
Damien asks, does your equipment setup change much from outdoor, commercial, and residential cases?
Great question. This is something that's actually part of my ghost hunting 101 class. There's equipment that you can use on a regular hunt that you're on, say like at an asylum, a prison, a historic place, like ghost boxes, whether you use an Ovilus or the Tempest or anything like that. Inside a private house, they don't belong, because there's always a chance that the client is going to hear it and you can't make them unhear it. And
Yep.
using those things, you can't control what's going to come over.
Yep.
Anything can come over there. Say it's even a human spirit just that wants to scare the crap out of the people, just as a prank. They can't unhear that. And you don't know if people are listening. I've had clients hide recorders in bookshelves to record what, because they're in the other room, they can go back and review it and they've heard everything we were saying. So
Yep.
you always have to watch out for, what's being said. I a REM pod, for instance, a trigger prop, I would use in a historic place, I'm asking them, hey, can you light up this color? Can you touch this? In a private house, I don't ask them to manipulate or touch anything. I put it out more or less in the middle of the hallway or a doorway as almost like a motion sensor of type that if something goes past it going into a door or down the hallway, it's going to trigger. But I don't want to teach the spirits how to start manipulating electronics in the house because we're telling the people we're not going to increase the activity for them. And then a lot of teams go in there and that's exactly what they do.
Yep.
And you have to be smart about using the equipment, but using it properly in each situation.
Right. Damien said, am solo and do residential, which can be dangerous. Usually do meet and greets in public before I go to a house or flat, but am confident in my abilities. But but usually it is trauma and the uncommon link and the common link.
Well, I would definitely have to caution you. I would never go alone. Um, you have no one to watch. Just simply for safety, normal safety. You trip, you fall, something happens, and you need someone there as like a backup. But if something comes after you, even when you're in a haunted location, if we're doing a bad case, a negative one, we don't walk around the house without someone with us. We do the buddy system. So because you don't want to be that lonely target out there. And I think a lot of the experienced demonologists out there will tell you that that's not a great idea, especially when you don't know what's out there, because you can never be careful enough. You can do everything that you could possibly do, and but it's like wearing a bulletproof vest.
Yep.
If you get shot in the head, the bulletproof vest really didn't help. So you may feel safe, you may have full riot gear on, but there's still gaps where something can get in. It's You really need to consider that when going out to places. Um, I always tell people that there's don't get overconfident in your abilities or the techniques you use to protect yourself. Even if you're layering and doing multiple techniques, something that's more intelligent than us that's been around, millennia can find a way through the protections if it wants to. And if you're alone, it only has to deal with one person. Doesn't have to deal with a group of people that are all doing protections and putting out that positive energy. You're decreasing it, you know, significantly by just being one person. So you might want to just try to find some people that would team up. Even the two or three people would be significantly safer. And start your own team out there. That would be a lot better than just trying to do those cases alone, especially when there's trauma involved. Because then when it's the dark side stuff, you're putting yourself on the menu. You're injecting yourself into the case, and that's not a place you want to wind up. And it may never happen, but all you need is the one time. The one time things go sideways, and that's what you're trying to avoid. Hopefully,
Julie said, and our thoughts and actions have a direct effect on energy around us.
absolutely. If you're not in a positive frame of mind, you just had an argument with your significant other, you had a bad day at work, any of that stuff that doesn't make you 100%, don't go. You have to understand that you may be letting a client down or making them wait, but you are doing a huge disservice if you go there and you feed into what's there or you become a target yourself. You have to make sure you are at your A game every time you go somewhere. You don't want to be the weak fish in the school because that's the one that something's going to target. So it's very important to remember and be aware of the energy and your mood, because that's putting out the energy around you, and use that as a guide, whether it's a good time to go out or whether you should just skip this one or postpone it.
And Damien asked, do you find males are darker spirits than female spirits, or do you think it's 40-50 depending on location?
Um, the demonic spirits don't necessarily have a gender. I mean, they'll manifest in a certain way that's going to get, whether it's going to make someone feel comfortable and put their defenses down, as a, could be a relative, could be a child, could be something like that. It's going to draw the person in. They're going to feel more comfortable and they're going to feel less defensive. And that's how the spirit gets in. So a lot of it is for that reason. When there's the sexual assaults, you have like a succubus, incubus. That's specific to trying to be male or female for that specific person. So I really think it depends on the situation and what their goal is and how they want to approach it, how they're going to manifest.
And then Damien said, I use no protection, but I have 500 attachments. That is my shield. It's not possible to break through an army. I am a Ouija board.
There's nothing that's impossible for them. That's
Well,
the best answer to that.
Damien's got a Ouija board. His arms are tattooed like Ouija boards.
There is nothing that is bulletproof. Nothing at all. If there was, every single one of us that does the demonology stuff, we would be using it. Yep. And exactly. I love something that's bulletproof. I've trained with people who have been doing this 50 years or more, and they don't have anything bulletproof either. So overconfidence in the shield can be the flaw, because that almost allows ego in, and that could be a way that something gets in. It's a lot of mental games than it is physical. So sometimes we feed into something without even realizing we're doing it, and ego and overconfidence can be a way for it to come in.
Yep. And Julie said, and a male spirit in the house, a male in the house with trauma could be setting yourself up.
Yes, definitely. It's like putting out bait.
Yep. And Roseanne said, you definitely don't want to become the case.
Definitely don't want to be what?
Become the case.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to be suddenly the part of the client, clientele. I've seen a lot of teams that we've dealt with that finally have come to us for help, and it's way too late. They've already become part of the case. They have injected themselves in ways that they thought they were helping, and they meant the best, but they got themselves in too deep, and now they're having stuff happen to them, and it's all related to the case. And now you're a client. You're part of that the dynamics of the case now include you. So you need to be part of everything, and you can no longer help. You need other people out there helping because you are a client. So it's there's so many ways that things can go sideways. Yep. And that's what makes us all a little different, because we know that going in, and we are accepting that risk. And I always encourage people not to do the demonology stuff. It's not a good idea. If you have a calling or somehow you find yourself doing it, that's something different. But actively looking to get into that part of that field is not a good idea. It's not something you want to do. There's no one that does those cases that, wakes up in the morning, thinking, oh, I hope I get a case this weekend. It doesn't happen. We hope that no more cases ever come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Like I said, we deal with that as well. The demonic cases, us and Julie and her husband, Chris.
Yeah, it's something that people don't necessarily understand. I know ghost hunters in general. I mean, when we hear something, what other people are running away from, we're running towards. But this is a whole different level of stuff that you are in physical and mental. You're risking your mental health, your physical health every time you go in and start with a case. And you don't have to be at the case for it to happen. I've been attacked many times at home. Mm-hmm. That we could connect back to a case. I've been attacked in a car. You don't have to be in the location. You have to be part of that case and dealing with that case. And sometimes they don't want you on that case. They don't want the people getting help. So if they can chase you away, then that's one less thing they have to deal with. So if you're not okay being attacked in your house or having something, attack you in your car, then you're probably not going to be okay doing, the demonic cases, because that's kind of par for the course. That's something I expect on every case. So I'm prepared. When it doesn't happen, I, sigh of relief, but I'd rather be prepared than be surprised.
Damien said us adults have 15 to 20-second brain delay since our brains have stopped growing. Children's brains are growing and developing, which is why they see what us adults can't. But age 25, the brain fully develops and slows down.
Yeah, I think it has to do with how much you were exposed to it. Um, See, I was exposed at 3 years old, and it was constant, you know, spirits. I mean, almost every day I would see them. So as I got older, I've had that on the job experience for those years. So that it doesn't really slow down then. Um, I think kids see this stuff, younger kids, because they're not taught or they haven't been programmed yet to not believe that stuff is real.
Yep.
They don't know. They're seeing it something, they're describing exactly what they're seeing without that thought of, oh, I better not say anything, or that can't possibly be there, any of that stuff. So I think they're way more open to it than adults. As we got older, we understand that that stuff shouldn't be happening. You question what you're seeing, or you just keep it to yourself because you don't want what other people are going to think. So kids don't have any of that baggage yet. So I think that's why they, or at least one of the reasons why they can see it better than we can.
And that's like Sister Farrah Rose Deal taught me that once you deal with that demonic entity, it knows your name.
Yes, and that's another thing that people need to understand too. I kid around that after all these years, I the post office in hell probably has a wanted poster with my picture on it. So and the first time you're on a case like that and it says your name and knows things about you, um, that's that's something. I mean, there's no words to even describe the thoughts and the feeling that, I know I probably, my body went like ice cold, and there was no feeling for a while, just totally numb, because that stuff you see in the movies and in Hollywood, and what's happening to you,
Yep.
and there's no way that this person or this thing should know your name, but they're giving details about your life that they couldn't possibly know. Then you kind of learn you more a better appreciation for the power that you're dealing with. So it's definitely kicks things up to a whole other level.
And Julie said, and your attachments can follow you in and create more issues for the homeowner.
Yeah, because you're now bringing stuff into the house, introducing something that wasn't there. It's like bringing an infection into a house with people who are already sick, and their immune systems are already compromised. You bring in something else, you can infect them. So that's something to be aware of too. If someone has some attachments they're aware of that they're dealing with, that's not a good idea for them to go into a house. Um, and I guess we would think that's common sense, but it's not, because there's a lot of people that they're more interested in getting the opportunity to go in and investigate than they are about necessarily helping the people,
Hmm.
or they just didn't take the time to learn enough to understand all these little factors can make a huge difference. And they may mean well when they're going in, but they're actually potentially causing a much worse situation.
And Damien said, am 44, born in haunted house, hunted probably 30 years plus. Am not religious, so am not a target or a threat, and this increases all activity around me.
I have found um, that people who are atheists can still have activity. It doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. Doesn't matter how strong your religious beliefs are. I've seen somebody that's been like, super religious become a target, and they wouldn't believe it's possible because how strong their belief system is. But that makes them a bigger target. That's a that's a better trophy if something can take you down. But if there's no belief system and there's other things that may be compromising the person, that's even an easier way to get in, because there's, say, attachments or just negative environment the person's in that draws a spirit in. There's now no typical um, blockages or boundaries or defenses that the spirit has to deal with. They have an easier way in. So I've encountered cases from people that didn't believe anything existed all the way up to the most devout, you know, religious person, and multiple religions. So it's not unique to Christianity. It goes across that. Um, I've been I've dealt with a Buddhist case and a Hindu case, Native American, Jewish, voodoo. That's off the top of my head. So, I mean, it crosses a lot of different lines.
Yep.
So, and all of them take a different approach. You can't impose your religious belief or your non-religious belief on people. You have to be open to what they believe in.
Yep. Julie says there is a constant need to watch yourself, know yourself, clean yourself, and listen to those around you when they tell you you are having issues.
Absolutely. And that's some of the hardest things to get people to understand and do.
Yep.
Because if you're having issues and someone tells you they think you're having issues, you're the first thing you do is think they're wrong, and take, a lot of people take it as an insult, like they would know if they're being affected by something. And that's kind of the rule number one. If you're being affected by something, you're the last one that knows. So if other people tell you there's something wrong, you take that step back. If someone tells me, hey, look, I don't think you should go on this case, or hey, you are right, something's not right, I listen, no matter what I feel, because they're outside observers. They're going to see things that I'm not picking up,
Hmm.
because they're watching me. I'm on the inside looking out. They're on the outside looking in. They're going to see a different perspective than I am. So yeah, people have to be aware of all that. All that she said was perfect. That's exactly how I would word it.
And plus, with us being in the field and we're doing this nonstop and constantly, we're able to see that with people where you can tell when they're not right.
Well, I know with my team, I've worked with them for a long time, and I just don't take people like off the street. I make them go through my regular team that deals with regular hauntings,
Hmm.
and we recruit from there. So I've seen them work for a long time, and we still would be careful on what cases we bring them on. The core team that goes out on something that's very bad, um, we know each other well enough to know when, hey, something's not right, and we'll know it quicker because we know the mannerisms, the little quirks that each of us have, the way we talk, the way we act, the way we walk, all those little things that might suddenly change. We're always aware of that, and paying attention to that as well as everything around us, because, that person acting odd may be the sign that something's ramping up
Yeah.
or something's attacking. We need to know all that. So paying attention to the environment includes paying attention to your teammates as well.
And Julie says, I'm initiated in Haitian Voodoo, Santeria, African Afa. I have left them all but learned so much and gained a tremendous spiritual sense. I'm so blessed for these experiments.
The more you can get, the more you can get exposed to, and the more you learn, um, the better off you are. I mean, and not sticking just to one. Regardless of what your belief system is, you can still learn and respect other systems.
Hmm.
You don't have to just be rigid and think of one, because, you know, my view is that, they're all right. It's just a perspective. A lot of things like the golden rule of do unto others is is not is common on every religion. So there's some commonality there right away. But I try to learn. I we just picked up some books at thrift store over the weekend. Um, I'm trying to think what the one was. It was Zoroastrianism, but it was their book. We picked up a book, a study guide on the Torah, and I got a study guide for the Quran. So just books that I can go back and reference. But the one on Zoroastrianism, I'm definitely going to read because I remember studying that in college. So um, you never know when those perspectives or that religion's going to, come up on a case. But
Mhm.
broadening your view and understanding spirituality on a much broader scale than just through, tunnel vision is only going to help you, and it's going to help you help clients because you're not always going to be in sync with exactly what the clients believe, and you have to be at least open to that and understand some of it. We did have a case that dealt with Santeria, and I went to someone that I knew would have answers for me. They weren't a practitioner, but they put me in touch with somebody and handed me a book, and that gave me enough information to know that I was handling the situation a little wrong, and I could go back now and make adjustments of what I was doing. But if I wasn't open to doing that, then I would continue to handle the situation wrong. So you have to be open to that and understand that we're all learning. There are no experts in this field, and no one's ever going to reach that point. There's
Yeah,
experience, but even the experience is limited. Your experiences are different than my experiences, so you've learned different things, different ways than I have. It's understanding that, and it's okay to reach out to other people and say, "Hey, you're a fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of experiences. What do you think of this?" And I still do that. I still reach out to people, and they don't always have to be people that have been doing it as long as me. Some people have been doing it a lot less. They have different experiences,
yep.
so they have different knowledge, and they may see something a lot clearer than I do. So I don't walk around saying, "Hey, look, I've been doing this longer. I'm not listening to these people. You don't know what you're talking about." Anyone could teach me something or give me something that's going to help a client. So I'm open to talking to anybody.
Yeah, there's always something to learn in this field. You learn something new every time you go out.
Yep, definitely. And every time, even going to the expos and the paracons and things, we touch. We wouldn't be talking today if we both didn't go to the Warrens Paracon.
Like,
But every time we go to those kind of events, you touch base with people, and I try to pick brains when I can, and find out more about people, and hopefully talk to them afterwards when if there's a situation I think, hey, they just popped in my head. Let me run this by them and see what they think. You know, it can't hurt. It can only help. So broadening. I'm trying to say that word and it's not coming out right. Expanding your your phone book of people that you can talk to is much better than staying in a little small group where you don't reach out to other people.
yep,
The more
exactly.
people you have in your arsenal to reach out to, the better.
Julie said, "Thank you, Dave. Absolutely. They all have a common storyline, and the truth is in there for all of them."
Yes, definitely.
And Damien said, "Every day, a school day."
Absolutely. And that's how you have to treat it. Be aware that when you're going out, even just on a fun case, you might learn something. You may learn something from someone else. A new technique, a new way of, doing something that maybe you would have never thought of, but you're seeing someone do it, and let me try that too. So any experience, anytime you're out with the paranormal stuff, you can learn something. You just have to
Yeah,
be open to it.
I agree. We definitely like when we were at the prison with Get Haunted and Nesper out here in Missouri State Penitentiary. Dom and Joe from Next of Kin Paranormal, they were doing the human pendulum. I've never seen that done before, so we that was something new for us. So
And
we
that's what's cool about getting those experiences with other people. Like you said, you've never seen that before. So now you're seeing it. You're not just hearing about it, you're seeing it. You if you want to ask questions about it, the people are right there that are doing it. So
Yep.
you're opening yourself up for more knowledge. And to me that's what it's all about.
Even the Estes method when we were at another Paracon and they were doing the Estes method with a haunted doll, and, Mike from Epic VIP Events, he does a countdown to count 'em out of Estes, which puts the pressure on the spirits to talk more.
I learned about the Estes method, and I've heard of it. I know there was YouTube videos and stuff online, but it was at an event that I watched someone doing it and saw how they were doing it, and then I got the rationale behind it, the theory behind it, and then it made sense. That's not something I got from watching the videos, and then doing it myself, and then I had a follow up question. I was able to reach out to someone and say, "Hey, look, am I doing this right? Is this something? What can you recommend?" And just trying to do it as best I can and do it accurately. So I'm getting we can compare results. If I'm
Yep.
doing it, not completely the way other people are doing it, then we can't really compare what we're getting because we're both doing it a different way. So I was trying to do it and mirror some of the most common ways of doing it. That way I could see if my results match what other people were getting, especially in similar locations.
Yeah, I mean, us and Ravens Eye just did an event a while back here at, old courthouse, and we were doing 2 Estes methods in 2 separate buildings, and both were saying the same thing.
Now that's cool. That's something that someone mentioned to me that they wanted to do, and we just haven't had a time where we were doing two different things at the same time. But that's cool, and that's exactly what you would hope that would happen. That
Yep.
you would get kind of some kind of sync up. So that's cool. That's good to know that it actually you accomplished that. So that may be worth something for me to do in 2025. Put it on my list.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out really well. I led a group into the library, and Julie led a group into the courthouse. So our one member, Jen, she was under the Estes, and I was asking questions, and then Julie was under the Estes over in the courthouse, and they were just the tour guides were coming back and forth, and they were talking at break that everything was saying the same thing in both places.
Oh, that's cool. That's see, let the skeptics kind of explain that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a little tough. A natural explanation doesn't pop in my head for that.
No, we couldn't explain it either. Well, that's like we did the you know how most paranormal investigators, they do the knock once for yes, twice for no.
Hmm.
So, we tried that up in the courthouse upstairs, and this girl was sitting in the chair, well, the back end of the chair lifts up, and it happened on cue, so my skeptical mind was like, because they don't work on cue, and this happened directly on cue, and everybody witnessed it. She didn't move, just the whole back end of her chair lifted up, and that was his knock.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, suppose they're not able to knock, or they just don't understand, but they're able to manifest something else.
Yep, and
Yeah,
that's what we did.
and to me, I would take it the same way as that was the answer. They're not always going to be able to do exactly what we ask them on command.
No. Damien said nearly 3 a.m. here. I'll be doing Estes tonight. Longest session was 8 hours.
That's a long session. I mean, I typically, even with spirit boxes or ghost boxes, anything like that, the portal, I tend to limit myself to 20 to 30 minute stops because you are opening a door in a way.
Yep.
So if you're leaving it open too long, the longer you leave it open, the more risk you run something coming through. I mean, honestly, a lot of the things we do with equipment, we're turning them into Ouija boards. So
Mhm.
you have to treat them with that respect that you can open something up, you can draw something in. You have to be careful of what you ask, how you ask it, your frame of mind, protections, all that kind of stuff. You have to be aware of that because it could cost you in the long run.
Yep. And like we do, like Julie was saying, we do 15-minute stops, and then we do the countdown. We learn that from Mike and Sam from Epic VIP events, and then we count them out of S because you don't want to go anymore because it is physically draining on your body if
Hmm.
you stay under a long time.
Yeah, I've seen the people on TikTok or Instagram Live or things like that, and they're going on for hours and hours and hours. And yeah, like you said, with that, when you're physically involved in it, yeah, your energy is taking a hit, and by the end, you're not in the same state that you were at the beginning. You're
Yep.
much weaker, and you make yourself a better target. So doing a bunch of short ones, and it's no one's winning any awards for having the longest session ever.
No.
So it because there's that chance of something adverse happening. It's much better again to be safe than sorry. Just limit yourself.
Damien asked, "What's your favorite equipment?" I have a mix of technology and non-technology. Even use a metal slinky on stairs.
Um, I I sell this stuff, so I like new toys. I like when something else comes out and I can learn about new technology and see how it can be applied to the paranormal. Lately, I've been using some microwave and radar tech motion sensors, which are motion sensors that go out 360 degrees, and they go through walls and doors up to like 40 feet away.
Mhm.
So just toying around with that to see how is that something that's really viable that we can use, and how would it work. I if I'm selling it, I want to make sure that it's something that is going to be something we can use, and if I find that it's not, then I won't sell it. um, I want to be able to explain to people, this is how you can use it, or this is how I used it. Maybe you'll find a different way, but this is the way I used it, and it was, I like how it worked in the field. But I use some of the simplest stuff. I mean, I have a whole bag of jacks, um, toy cars, some other smaller balls, even like the cat balls.
Mhm.
Um, but anything like that, old toys, uh, a pack of cigars, a pack of tobacco, just anything that can be like a trigger prop. Because even those things you can put near other technology, like lean it up against the REM pod. Put the
Yep.
we had I'm trying to it was a metal, some kind of metal from the Civil War, and we just sat it right on top of the REM pod to see if something would reach for that, and then they would automatically set it off. Just little things like that that you can use together, but anything can be used as a trigger prop, given the location. So you can be creative, and you can use it combined with some of the electronic stuff or just alone. I've watched toy cars be pushed back towards me. I've seen balls, rolled back and forth. Had actually a session where at least 4 or 5 times back and forth, a ball was rolled to me. I rolled it back, it rolled back. And then in another time, we went back to the same building. I was able to, in a different part of the same floor, it happened again. So it seemed like it was an intelligent spirit, the same spirit. I said, remember what we did last time, and it was able to replicate that. So I mean, sometimes the old school stuff is just as cool as the new stuff.
Damien says, "Is it possible to use frequency waves to 3D map a room, kind of like a dolphin sonar echo, to show energy fields?"
There was someone that was working on that, um, and I don't know if they ever finished or if it's still in development. But they wanted to be able to do that 3D mapping, and also be able to detect have sensors throughout the room, and that would mark spikes of temperature, pressure, um, dew point, humidity, EMF, all different things like that, and they would appear where they were being detected in the 3D mapping.
Mm.
So you'd be able to pinpoint almost exactly the point where this was occurring. But as you can imagine, this is like a super high end piece of equipment and system. You're
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
a computer system with you and everything else. So, um, we're probably years away from something like that. But there are people working on that technology. Yeah.
Julie said we did whiskey, chocolate, and cigars at a speakeasy brothel on Valentine's Day and had great results.
We do White Hill Mansion in New Jersey. They have a speakeasy in the basement, and we will have bottles out. And they definitely prefer certain brands, and the brands wind up being some that would have been bootlegged. Bacardi is one of the big ones,
Mhm.
and the mansion's right on the Delaware River, which goes right out to Delaware Bay and the ocean. And there was tunnels that came up from the river all the way up to the speakeasy. So, I mean, that's just maybe coincidence, but that's definitely one of their favorite ones. So we'll bring shot glasses. We have all different kinds. We got poker chips and cards we put out. Anything that makes that you can replicate an environment is always good. And I never thought of it that see, learn something. I know for Valentine's Day, it never occurred to me to bring something along those lines like chocolates or something like that to try to, replicate that. That's a great idea.
So we're hitting our hour mark. We got another show coming on after me. Um, if people want to get a hold of you to book you for cases or buy equipment, how can they reach you?
You can always reach me at theghosthunterstore.com. And probably the way to get the quickest answer is on Facebook. You can reach me at Dave Giuliano on Facebook or the Ghost Hunter Store on Facebook. Those messages go right to my phone, so I can answer that. And if you need help with a case, you're talking to me anyway. I can just bring it over to my group. A lot of the cases we get are people contacting me directly that I bring my team in on. So the ghosthunterstore.com and Facebook, I would say, the easiest.
All right. If you want to hang backstage for a few minutes, I'm going to close this out. I thank everybody for joining me tonight. I thank you, Dave, for coming on tonight.
Thanks for
And
having me.
oh, you're welcome. Anytime. We'll do a part two again. We'll get
Definitely.
back on. And looks like we're getting some comments that are very good. Do ghosts need to eat? I found my pizza all bagged open last night. I swear it wasn't me.
I've seen spirits remove stuff from refrigerators, and it's looked like stuff has been eaten. So I've encountered that before. Not that often, but I have encountered it.
So, all right. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll see you all next week. Thank you again, Dave. Everybody stay safe out there. Stay humble. See you next week.